So Peter, I'd like to reflect next on the NSPCC's work with schools. And with my archive hat on, I thought I'd show you this, which is the Children's League of Pity, which is where, in a sense, it all started for the NSPCC in terms of our work with children in schools.
Right. Yeah, well, I don't know too much about the League of Pity. What a name.
Yeah,
It's,
absolutely. Very much of its time.
Yeah. Children don't need us to feel sorry for them. They need us to make things better for them. Nevertheless, yeah, it was of the moment.
1891, I think it was founded. I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, I do recall reading Lady Thatcher's biography that Charles Moore wrote, and she was a supporter of the NSPCC as a consequence of coming across the League of Pity when she was at school. So
right.
It was certainly kind of active whenever that would have been. Lots of people who I have met now who are amazing volunteers within our branch and district committee, and even some of our staff talk about the blue eggs. So I think there was a huge kind of NSPCC fundraising campaign at one time where we went into school and we talked to people about what was happening to children and young people like them and encouraged them to become young philanthropists and give money. And a lot of people will trace back their regular giving to the NSPCC, to the blue egg. In my time here, I think the most significant development with schools has been around our Speak Out, Stay Safe school service. So back in the day, I was a director at the Department for Education, and all the time we were being told by charities, good causes of one kind or another, if only all schools would do this, do that, do the other, then the world would be a better place. But actually schools are incredibly busy places, and almost without exception, the teachers and the senior leaders in the schools know best what will inspire and engage their kids to learn effectively together. So it's not quite as simple as just inserting something in an undifferentiated fashion into 25,000 schools across the UK. So when I arrived here and I was told, we've got this thing called Speak Out, Stay Safe, and we're going to roll it out to every school, I was quite sceptical because I thought, I've heard all this before. However, the insight behind what we were trying to do was really important. I expect we'll come on to talk about Childline, but the concern was far too many young people were coming to Childline with issues that, if they had known or understood a little bit more earlier about what constituted abuse and neglect, they could perhaps have spoken up and someone could have helped them earlier. So it's not their fault they find themselves in this situation, but an awareness and an understanding of the fundamentals of abuse and neglect taught in an age-appropriate way is vitally important. And schools lacked kind of confidence and capability to do that. So actually the idea of the NSPCC and Childline, with our trusted brand and fronted up by volunteers from the communities, well trained to go in and run assemblies and then subsequent workshops with 9 to 11-year-olds, was an extremely attractive proposition, not just to us, but to the schools. And with careful management information and focus and a determination that we had to say, actually, this isn't nice to have, this is a must have, but we need to convince the schools themselves to take the service. We worked really hard to, encourage and engage and build a supply of volunteers and a support from the NSPCC that would be able to take the service into each and every primary school. And that was great, but at the same time as doing that, the schools were saying to us, well, 9 to 11 is too late. We want the 5 to 9s to be able to hear about what to do if you have a worry or a concern, and what the fundamentals of abuse are. And now, we are developing variants of Speak Out, Stay Safe for preschool children. So there's a real sophistication and age-appropriate nature to what we are up to. The other fear that I think the wider world had at an earlier stage with the NSPCC's work in schools was, we shouldn't frighten children about things they don't need to know about. And it's hard enough being a child without you talking to them about, abuse and neglect and these horrible things that they really don't need to know about. And there's something in that, but the way in which the Speak Out Stay Safe service has been developed to feel like something really empowering for children, I think is very special, and that also illustrates the shift, I think, over my period here to us trying to focus increasingly on prevention and early intervention and stopping the abuse and neglect of children before it happens. So for me, some of the most special and memorable moments in this job have been sitting at the back of school assemblies and hearing 35 to 7-year-olds all shout out at the same time, "I have the right to be happy and safe." And you think, that's such a great feeling that they've got, and if only more of them could carry that sense of confidence and self-worth and belief in themselves through to their teenage years, then everyone would be a whole lot happier. One of my absolute most memorable moments was going back to my own primary school to see the Speak Out Stay Safe service delivered. It was a really strange coincidence. The school was celebrating its 50th birthday. It was on a kind of new build estate where I grew up, and I was in one of the I didn't know at the time, one of the very early years to go to the school. So one of the oldest pupils who's ever been to Monkton Park Primary School in Chippenham. And they invited me back for their 50th birthday celebration. And amazingly, the week before, NSPCC was going in to deliver the Speak Out Stay Safe service. So I went in and joined the assemblies, heard the kids who were like I was, back in the day, saying that they had the right to be happy and safe, which was lovely. Of course, we've also created a couple of really iconic characters. So we have got one of them here. So here is Buddy, who we asked children, here's Buddy, what do you think he is? Some people think he's a tadpole. Some people think he's a pea. And he's a speech bubble, and the idea of Buddy is that it's speak out and stay safe. These furry buddies, they're in quite short supply. They're much more expensive than the plastic buddies, and I know the volunteers much prefer delivering the service with the furry buddies. So I don't know how many we've got left, but he's very special. And then the other character we've got, of course, is the Pantosaurus. And the Pantosaurus teaches you the underwear rule, which again is an age-appropriate way of helping parents and carers talk with their children about how to stay safe from sexual predators. This was another thing I was quite sceptical about. Just before I arrived, this was being worked up, and two of the directors, NSPC's directors at the time, came to see me in my previous job. I was chief executive at what was then called the Big Lottery Fund, and they said, we're running a sexual abuse campaign. And I thought, that sounds a bit strange. Why would we be sort of promoting something to do with sexual abuse? But it was about the underwear rule, and again, in age-appropriate language, helping parents feel that there was something that they could do locally to help protect their children from what at that time were all sorts of kind of lurid headlines and cases of awful sexual abuse of children. So this was a really practical, sensitive way, again, using the NSPCC brand and the trust in us to help give techniques, make teaching children how to stay safe from sexual abuse as natural and straightforward as the Green Cross Code is for teaching children how to cross the road. So in those behaviour change, kind of public awareness space, again, we've done a lot in the last 10 years, and there's plenty to build on. And the NSPCC, because of its iconic status as a brand and the trust people have in us to walk into those conversations, we're not really doing anyone else's work. People value and respect us opening up those subjects, I think, which we can then come in behind with our professional learning services and help and support increasing numbers of professionals who know and understand the importance of safeguarding to build on the conversations. But getting in at the ground level, talking with children at an early stage, bringing these issues alive with Buddy and the Pantosaurus is great stuff, I think.